So I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Kelley Hunt. Nice to meet you. The end. That's all we need to know today. So today I'm going to talk about gratitude. And it's a heavy topic. Sometimes when we think of gratitude, we think of, oh, I'm so grateful for every little thing that comes my way. You know what? We're really not. It's heavy, man. It's a radical act to step into the mode of gratitude when things aren't going well, when there is pain, physical, mental, spiritual pain involved. And we think, oh, I'll just affirm that life is good. And you know, the human side of us, try as we might, because I believe, as many of you do, and maybe some of you don't, that I'm a spiritual being in a human body. The spiritual side of me knows, of course, I am grateful for all things. Of course, things are going to work out in a way that I can't even imagine now. The human side of me sometimes says, I don't like this at all. It's not fun. I bet everybody in this room and everybody in this town and this whole world that we live in, and it's a much smaller world than it used to be, yes? All of us have something to be grateful for. When one of my sisters was going through an incredibly challenging time, and she wasn't safe in her home, and she had to have help getting out, and lots of things were happening there. When we got her moved into a new apartment, into a safe place, she sat in that apartment and she had been so overwhelmed with the waves of grief and fear and shame that it was hard to feel grateful in that moment. She didn't feel that. And yet, the next morning when she woke up, and she didn't have to be on alert, and she didn't have to look behind her. And she took her first relaxed breath that she'd taken in about 3 years. She looked out of her window and she saw the blue of the sky. She looked out of her window and she was up on a 3rd floor apartment, having moved from a beautiful large home in another city. And she looked down and she saw the beautiful green of the trees. This was in springtime. And as she sat there, she closed her eyes and she said, "Thank you for the blue. Thank you for the green." And then she could hear birds sing, and there it was. Thank you for that good timing, by the way. It's magic this morning, isn't it? I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to be grateful for all of it. And so she ended up writing a song about that. And the first line of the song goes, "Thank you for the color blue. I see the sky, I know it's you." And she went on to transform that grief and that fear and that shame into something to be grateful for. She did it with a lot of help. But you know what? It's okay to ask for help. Being an alpha gal myself, and being from a family of a lot of alpha gals, God bless my father and my one brother. Woo! Oh, and my boyfriend, otherwise known as my husband, who came into a family of a lot of alpha gals. He's grateful for that. Sometimes we have to remember it's okay to ask for help. It's okay. You know, we may be as capable as ever. Yes, I can move myself into a new apartment. Yes, I can get myself out of that house. Yes, I can. When we ask for help, we are actually empowering ourselves and we are empowering others. When we can stand in gratitude and stand almost like a sentinel for someone who can't do that yet. We hold that space for them. So about 7 years ago, I was traveling, which is part of my job and has been all my adult life. I travel with 6 men, y'all, and I'm the boss. But the more I own that and the more I do my job, the more comfortable they can be doing their job. They know why they're there, and they're professional and they're wonderful men. And they're handpicked to be there, because you don't just need to be good at what you do. You need to be a good person on the inside to work for me. So we're on the road, and we're at the end of a 3-week run. We travel all over the United States and Canada and Europe. And at this leg of our journey, we are in a 15-passenger van, pulling a trailer full of equipment, and we have one more show. And it's in a beautiful little harbor town up in Michigan. It's in southwest Michigan. So if you go down around the Great Lake, you'll be over to Chicago in about an hour or so. Beautiful little place of about 5,000 people. They have a sweet music festival that they do every year, and we were the, closers. And it was in the afternoon. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon. So we're just coming down. We're just feeling great. We're like, oh, man, one more show. Woohoo! We pull up to a stop sign. We're going to turn left, and we're going to see, and we can see the big festival site there. The group that's playing before us is on stage. There's, 3,000 people there, and we're just excited and happy. Great. My husband's driving. I'm sitting right behind him, and we got all the guys lined up. And he pulls out, and bam, we get hit on the driver's side. We get hit so hard that the frame of this 2-ton, 15-passenger van is bent. And it was such an impact, and none of us saw it coming, that on the driver's side, we could hear it starting to crumble and crunch toward his legs. And so, you know how things sometimes slow down and go into slow motion? We could see this, and I could see him still steering and doing this with his body. And he wasn't touched. Not a bit. I, on the other hand, had been lying down on the seat, and I didn't have my seatbelt on. I went, boom, right forward and right into his seat. But I bounced back, and believe me, I was sitting up and very alert. It's like, oh, child. And there was silence in the van. We knew that this was a big deal. We knew we'd been hit hard. And so everybody took a breath, and Al, my husband, said, "Is everybody okay?" And we all checked in all the way to the back of the van. Yes, we're good. We said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah." The van, however, and we could see the people that had hit him was an older couple that had a big heavy-duty Cadillac, and he literally didn't stop at all, and he just rammed it, and they were fine. Their car was fine, and they were okay. But we had all these witnesses all around us that saw what happened. And it was as if things got still. We could see people running to us, and we could see, lights coming at us, but it's almost like I couldn't hear a thing. And I thought to myself, I'm so glad to be alive at this very moment. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And sometimes when you go through an instance like that, or you take a fall or a tumble, or you've been in a little fender bender, you don't feel it till later. Your body doesn't feel it because your adrenaline is way up. And I was feeling alpha as heck. I was like, I'm good. I said, matter of fact, let's go ahead and play this show. And everybody went, okay. How are we going to get there? It's right over there. There it is. And so, before we knew it, someone from the site had brought a big truck. They unhooked our trailer. They hooked the trailer up. They took us down. They checked with all of us. Are you okay? Okay, you want to play? The band before us kept playing because we weren't there. And they're like, well, we can see them, but we don't know why they're not coming over here to play. What's going on. So the promoter got on stage and said, there's been a little mishap, they're fine, they're on their way. And we got there and we jumped up on stage. They let us use their equipment. We played our set. And in the middle of the set, all of a sudden, I could feel my body. And the room, not the room, but the audience and the beautiful view in front of me went like this. And I couldn't feel my left hand. And I was just like flinging it out there. I'm playing this thing. If it's a desk, I'm going to play this thing. Suddenly I could feel. And then I went into that quiet zone again. I couldn't hear anything, but I could see Al running up from the back, coming on stage. And he turned me around, he looked at me, and he said, "You're done." I went, okay. So off we went. So here we were in this little town at the end of a tour. We had no way to get home. We had no way to get the guys to the airport the next day. But we were so grateful to be alive that when we got to our little Airbnb where we stayed, we were just like, glory, hallelujah. Oh, man. And on the festival site before we left, I just said out loud, I'm so grateful to be here. And then I said, I wonder how we're going to get home. And I said out loud, I wonder how I'm going to get the guys to the Chicago airport tomorrow. And you know, because I went ahead and said that out loud, my filter was a little on the low side at that point. I don't know that I would have done that had I not just been kind of wacky and in oddball land. But one of the main sponsors of this thing owned the one car dealership in town. There were no rental cars to be had. And he walked up to Al and he said, listen, I got a minivan you guys can take, you can use tomorrow to get your guys to the airport. We'll figure it out when you get back. And another guy who owned the body shop where the van was towed to came up and said, hey, who all's going to be staying here tonight or the next night? And Al said, well, my wife, Kelley and I. And there were no hotel rooms. I think there was one hotel in town. He said, listen, my wife and I have a blueberry farm 4 miles outside of town. It's 2 weeks before harvest time. We have a house there that we just built that we won't be in for 2 weeks. Would you like to stay there? I said, yes, we're so grateful. Thank you so much. So the next day, I get up at 6 in the morning, I drive the guys to the airport, I say goodbye to Al, not knowing any more details other than I'm going to be on a blueberry farm for I don't know how long. And all along the way, even though I was upset, every time my mind would go to, what are we going to do? This is our main vehicle. We don't have the resources to go out and buy a new van right now. How are we going to get home? We're over 600 miles from home. And when we get there, how are we going to pull this trailer home with all this equipment? Ooh, what are we going to do? And every time my mind went to the details of what I couldn't control, I don't know why this happened, but I just went, but I'm so grateful to be here in good hands. I know it's going to work out. And in many ways, I didn't really believe that. I didn't feel it yet, but I think it was the divine spark that's within me and within all of us that said, keep saying it. Keep saying it. Don't let yourself go to that place of despair. I was very, very worried. So we went out to the blueberry farm, and it was gorgeous. Beautiful little place. There was a pond right outside the windows. There were blueberry fields all around us, and it was quiet. Now, this was the end of 3 weeks of going hard and loud music and lots of people and doing what we loved, and we were exhausted. And it was a Sunday. So the insurance guy couldn't get there for 2 days. And at first we went, hey, and then we went, oh, mini vacay for Al and Kell. We hadn't been on a vacation in 10 years. Why not take one at a blueberry field? So gratitude is the thing that saved our sanity during a time that was stressful. Now, this story and this experience is nothing compared to what many of us have been through. And I know that. I'm not saying in the darkest, deepest, most horrible circumstance we can always just say, well, I'm going to be grateful for everything. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is gratitude is a radical choice. It's a radical act. And if we think in terms of there is power with that, we get to choose and be radical in the midst of whatever is feeling very bad to us at that moment. There's a song that one of my favorite co-writers and I wrote, and the chorus is, around rainbow is called a glory, which is true, by the way. That's the name of a rainbow when you see the whole thing, glory. How about that? The second line, and what you survive in life is called a story. You only see the arc of it after the storm, To see the whole miracle, you've got to hold on. And I would add to that, add the radical act of gratitude. And when you can't do it for yourself, whether you're an alpha gal or alpha guy, ask somebody to do it for you, even if it's silently. Sometimes we don't want to hear, oh, it's going to be okay. We just go, oh, heck no. Silently, we can call silent unity, which we did, by the way. And it can be a silent asking for that somebody else can take that and use that radical act on our behalf until we can do it ourselves. So I think our mindset is everything. Wayne Dyer said, and I love this, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. As silly as it sounds, I cried like a baby when I saw that old van of ours who had over 500,000 miles, who was running like a top when it just got that frame bent on it, being towed away knowing I'd never see it again. It was just a thing, but it was years of memories, years of positive, years of fun, years of joy. It represented that to me. We went in to clean it out, and we'd pull out these things. It was like, oh, yeah, ooh, look at that, I forgot this was here. And some things were like, child, why is that in here? So it was funky. But at that moment, and the sweetest man and his wife who owned the shop and the blueberry farm could see I was standing out looking at this old, beat up, totaled fan, bawling my eyes out. And instead of saying, oh, honey, he walked up to me smiling. He was this big old guy, and he hugged me, and he said, I see a new van in your near future. And I was like, how's that? And he goes, God's got this. And I didn't feel that yet, but when I heard that, I went, oh, okay, well, all right. So then we get to the point where, hey, the guy comes out for the insurance. We ended up being there 3 days, which really didn't hurt our feelings at all. And we found out, yes, the van's totaled. This is what you're going to get for it. And now we have a trailer full of equipment to get home. It's time for us to get going. We had actually bought another trailer waiting for us at home that we were going to use. And we said out loud to Jim, the guy who owned the blueberry farm, gosh, we're going to get home and this new trailer's waiting for us. And he said, I'm really glad you brought that up, because my wife and I have been eyeballing that trailer of yours, because we have these four-wheel drives things that we take out in the fields, and we don't have any way to take them out to the workers. I don't suppose we could buy that off of you today, could we? And we went, you betcha. Because we had to rent a U-Haul to get home, and that paid for the U-Haul, that paid for the gas, that paid for the hotel on the way, that got us home. So gratitude, y'all, is a radical act. And I'm here to tell you, I've lived it. You've lived it. We're probably going to keep on living that. You know, when we accept what is, we've got to let go of what we thought was going to happen. Well, shoot, we thought we were going to go play a show, drop the guys off, we'd be home, and move on our merry way. But that didn't happen. When we accept, instead of fighting it, trying to change it, then we can more easily see the next steps we need to take. It's not all about just saying, I'm grateful. It's about taking the steps that become apparent to us and listening to what those are. Had I not said, wow, I wonder how we're going to get the guys to the airport, no one would have come up and said, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. I wonder where we're going to stay. I wasn't fishing for help or answers. I just put it out there. It was almost like I was informing those around me what we needed. But I needed to be specific. And I think when we're specific about what we need, we don't need to know how it's going to happen. Another point I want to make is things aren't always what they seem to be. They aren't always what they seem to be. It looked like it was a big deal to us. It's terrible wreck, and our van is gone. Well, a lot of good things came out of it. We got a break in a safe, beautiful place. Our guys got to the airport. And then every time we went into town in this minivan, to grab a bite to eat, the whole town knew us. We made all these new friends. The first day, truth be told, we were both kind of in shock a little bit and a little physically sore, and we were, coming into a restaurant to have some breakfast the next day. And the owner of the restaurant, she said, hey, aren't you Kelley? I was like, yeah. She goes, well, come on in. She goes, oh, I was hoping you guys would come. They served us food for 3 days and wouldn't let us pay for a thing. We didn't ask for that. We didn't expect it. But we just said, well, a total van equals a new van. A 3-day delay equals a badly needed break. Stranded meant new friends, new scenery, and a recognition that we could do it. We could do it, we could do it, we could do it. We didn't necessarily feel that way at the time, but, we got ourselves through. So here are some suggestions, just some things to try. See if any of this resonates with you. I want you to think of a time when you were able to find a silver lining in a situation. Just think to yourself, when was I able to find that silver lining? It may not have happened during the event or series of events. It might have happened after. It might have happened a long time after. Just think about that. And be aware of what you say about a situation. Be aware of what you say about a situation and shift your language. And if you can't, if of the moment that isn't possible for you, ask somebody to do it for you, even if they do it silently. Say, I'm not feeling grateful about this. I'm feeling awful. Can you stand in that stead for me until I get there? I don't want to hear anything positive right now. Could you just do this silently for me? And the friends that do that for us are the ones that have been there. They know what that is. Be aware also, not only what you say, but what you think about a situation, and shift your thought. So when we think, oh no, and then we think, well, I wonder how this is going to turn out. It's not an automatic everything is great. I'm not saying to deny your feelings, but just be aware of how you're reacting. Consider, and this is a biggie for me, and it's a big one for my husband too, consider saying yes to the help that is offered. Oh, my friend Cheryl once said, don't deny me my blessing. she was offering me something in exchange for something else, and I was going, oh, no. She goes, don't deny me my blessing. So understand that when you ask someone for help, turn that table and think about a time when you were able to help somebody. It might have been just by being there, just by sitting next to them. How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel? So don't deny somebody their blessing. You need help? Ask for it. Steve Maraboli, who's an American writer and a behavioral scientist, said, the truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, ooh, big one, unless you realize that that situation is over, you cannot move forward. Incredible change happens in your life when you decide to take control of what you do have power over instead of craving control over what you don't. I'm going to say that again. Incredible change happens in your life when you decide to take control of what you do have power over instead of craving control over what you don't. I didn't know how we were going to get home. I didn't know what was going to happen when we got there, but I knew I couldn't control it. I could just take the next steps, do what I could, and eventually it would be okay. And I love this. Deepak Chopra says, in the process of letting go, you will lose many things from the past, but you will find yourself. You will lose many things from the past, but you'll find yourself. I call that a good deal. You know, there's some things from the past that I wish I could have done differently or wish hadn't happened. Guess what? Who can control that? Not me. What can I control? And this is the beautiful thing about today, about this very, very moment. When I walk into this particular building, I know it's just a building. These are walls, this is a floor, these are windows and lights. But I have memories of this that go back years and years and years, and I carry all that with me when I walk in. But I know that that time and those times, as good as many of them were, is in the past. There's nothing I can do to change those, but right now, on this beautiful morning in Lawrence, Kansas, and I'm home, and all of you were here. We made it here today, you guys. We made it. I'm going to give yourself, yes. And that's one of the many things I'm grateful for. We made it here together. You know, who am I to be up here talking about stuff? Who am I? Well, I'm just a person just like you. And my interest in unity and unity principles and new thought is deep and wide and has been going on for a long time. And I appreciate, and guess what? I'm grateful for being here today. What are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? I'm going to go over there, and I just want you to take a deep breath, and I'm going to shift to one of my favorite places. Holly is graciously, thank you, Holly. I'm grateful for you. She is sharing that position with me today. So take a couple of deep breaths, and we're going to go into some meditation.